Hey, what's happening? Before we jump into the show, I wanted to see if you had any music on a hard drive. You have a band, you have a project, and you want to self-release your own music. Well, there's an easy way to do it. You can go to distrokid.com/VIP/hyphenate and go get your music up on all the streamers. You keep 100% of your royalties, and you can get 30% off by using this code. It's a great, easy way to get your music up on the streamers and share it with your fans, your friends, your family, your mom, your dog, everybody. Everyone wants to hear it. But go to distrokid.com/VIP/hyphenate, HYPHENATE, and send me the link. I want to hear it too. Send your mom the link. Send your dog the link. They all want to hear it too. We'd like to thank our sponsor, iZotope, the absolute leaders in intuitively designed plugins for audio restoration, mixing, and mastering. At iZotope.com, you'll find a plethora of tools and suites that will enhance your audio production, whether it's voice, video, podcast, or a full production recording session. Check out the industry-standard audio repair tool, RX11, or the multi-tool mixer plugin, Neutron 5, or the powerful Ozone 11 mastering suite, plus tons more. Go to iZotope.com and use the code FRET10 at checkout for 10% off. That's FRET10 to get 10% off at checkout. And again, the website is iZotope.com, IZOTOPE.com.
Like, I was always at his apartment doing whatever we could to like record as much as possible and to figure out how to like put music on the computer and then put music on the internet.
What's happening, everybody? Thank you so much for tuning in to Hyphenate with me, your host, Randy Randall. This is our show for September 25th in the year of our Lord, 2025. Wow. What a wild ride it is here in America, right? Am I right or am I right? I feel like a hack comedian. Yeah, well, we'll see what happens next in this not so distant future where the dystopian world is, kind of just rolling along. Authoritarian, or I can't even say it. It's depressing. Well, we'll skip past all of that. It's fucked, but we celebrate little victories. Hopefully we, free speech, freedom, and empathy, and compassion, and mercy, and Bill of Rights, constitutional amendments, what have you, have some place in all of this world. But on today's show, I've talked to my good friend Erin Allen, and we talk about those early days of the smell and playing music in the Inland Empire and growing up in Southern California and playing noise music and those early kind of scenes. This was sort of an interview I was doing around the time when I was doing all the smell interviews. He was very much part of that scene and even more out in the Inland Empire scene and kind of coming in and joining forces with so many other creative bands and individuals and just making those early aughts here in Southern California a diverse, eclectic, artistic explosion that they were. So I wanted to make sure to include Erin in that conversation. I think he came up when I was talking with Jeff from the Meishi, and someone said, "Oh, you got to interview Erin Allen." I'm like, "Oh yeah, of course. Absolutely." I've always loved playing shows with Erin and setting up shows and seeing him up in the Bay Area while he was there for a bunch of years. So yeah, today is Erin Allen Day on the Hyphenate Pod. Thank you everybody for writing in and with all the great support. I feel like I've gotten some really awesome notes, and yeah, let me know how you're doing and send me your music too. I love playing new music. I played Andrew Allen, no relation to Erin Allen, I don't think, last week's Halftime from the Pittsburgh area on the Golden Apples, the Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh connection. But yeah, if you have a music project and you want me to check it out, send it to hyphenatehalftime@gmail.com. You can also find me on the Instagrams. I am at Randy S. Randall. I didn't make a page for the show. I just kind of figured I would transform my own personal page into the show page. Maybe it needs it. I think I registered one at some point. Hyphenate podcast show.com. I don't know. I'm enjoying it, kind of doing it in this DIY sort of way. I feel like I can just sort of make it make sense for me, and it's visible enough to the degree that I can keep it being visible. But yeah, hit me up, hyphenatehalftime@gmail.com, or find me on Instagram at Randy S. Randall, and send me a link to whatever projects you're working on or what you're up to. I want to hear what people are doing that listen to the show. That way, it's, creates a bit of a conversation and give you a shout out, just so I know too. Cause I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I definitely am just whistling in the wind, but, I've heard from a few people and I really appreciate the support, and it's great to know that this show is, hitting people's ears. So, let me know if you got it. And then also make sure you subscribe. I don't think you like the show. What do? You subscribe, you turn the automatic downloads on, you can leave a review if you listen to it in a place where there's reviews to leave. I think that helps people. It shows that there's engagement, interactions around the show. And if you've already done it before, leave another one. I read them. I think everything's so hidden, all these comments and processes. It's just discovered Spotify. There's a bunch of comments on Spotify. I think it's probably 90% of them are me and my mom writing back and forth to each other for the first year of the podcast. I'd leave myself a good podcast, and then I'd see the next one. My mom would leave me a good podcast. So, I appreciate all the help and support out there in the world. I'll take it. I'll take it from wherever it gets. Even if I'm giving it to myself, I'll still take it. So yeah, thank you everybody. And I'll be back on Monday with Erin Farley to talk about Erin Allen and this podcast. And yeah, hit me up. I hope you have a good weekend. Stay safe. Keep fighting the good fight and spreading the word of freedom, right? Come on. Freedom of speech. Government can't shut us down. Oh, man. I like your Real Monsters shirt. I remember Iggy Pop sang the theme song to that show, right? I like monsters. Goodness. I like monsters.
Oh my goodness. Monsters? Yeah, he did, didn't he?
Yeah. That was like a late 90s Fox Kids show, but I thought was incredible. They were kind of like like the Munsters, but they were monsters, and they all lived in a house, but they thought everyone else was scary. Like they were the normal ones and everything else was crazy. Do you not remember the show?
I'm quite guilty of wearing the band shirt.
Name your 5 favorite songs. Oh no.
But like everybody that is like maybe 10 years younger than me loves this shirt.
Oh, younger. I'm 44.
Me too.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm not. I'm 46.
Oh, okay,
I wish I was 44.
So yeah, it was a little young for me at the time, I remember, but it was kind of like the thing I caught, and I was like, why weren't my kids' shows as cool as this show? Like this, how did this one get
no.
It felt like it was like one of the cool ones that got through the thing.
It was in my periphery, definitely, because I had my younger extended Filipino family like living across the street, and they were always watching the tube.
Yeah. It's a good one. That's right. I've never seen a shirt that's a good pull. It's a good. I guess it'd be considered vintage. Our youth is now vintage. Our childhood memories are vintage memories now.
Yes, they are. They are indeed.
That's exciting. Congratulations,
I like to call it vintage dust.
Vintage dust. Just stuff left in boxes. You're like, oh wait,
yeah.
That thing. Oh yeah, no, I have a lot of like Burger King Kids Clubs, gifts or whatever.
Do you still? Wow.
Well, they were just they were in boxes. There was because the Simpsons were big and Beetlejuice. Do you remember they had the Beetlejuice ones? They're kind of like blow mold rubber things and all the Simpsons ones. I mean, that was definitely my age. I don't know if that probably hit for you right on the same time, but yeah, the Simpsons, that 90, 91, I was like,
God, I still remember to this day my dad trying to bond with me, and he like body slammed me right in front of the TV. You remember when televisions were on the floor?
Oh, of course. Yeah, the pieces of furniture. Yeah, they're made with wood.
Yeah, he like body slammed me as like we were watching some cartoon about a dysfunctional, abusive family.
Why yada?
Yeah, just like okay.
Was it?
It's so funny. I have an 11-year-old and a 6-year-old now, both boys. And I think when my 11-year-old was, I don't know, 8 or something, we were playing around and I fully body slammed him onto his bed. You know, it was the thing where he was like jumping at me. He jumped up and I got him. I went, rah, and I flipped him and onto his back, onto the bed. But we destroyed the bed frame. It was like it was an IKEA bed frame. It fully broke and it was my fault. And my wife came running in like, what happened? I was like, that was me.
Oh my goodness.
I was the body slamming dad, and he was scared that he was going to get in trouble. I was like, oh, it's fine. That was my fault. That was dad being a big kid. So then I got some wood and I fixed the bed frame, and it lasted for another year or so.
We're like different when we're older. You know, we are a lot stronger than we think we are.
Which I thought would be the fun part. I thought that'd be like, hey, I get to be the fun dad, but I don't know.
Yeah.
It was okay. He was fine. The bed frame was ruined, but he was fine. So that's good news.
I'm just a cat dad.
Oh, good. Do you body slam the cats ever? The cats like that?
Oh, no.
It doesn't look a very cat thing.
No, they do not.
No.
Nope.
No. No, thank you, sir.
Cats don't like most things that humans do to them.
And you look at them like, no, I'm not having this.
People think that cats like to be pet.
No, not really. There's like two spots on the in the back right before the tail starts, and then that's about it. If I remember cats correctly, there's like a 2-inch square where you could touch them, and that's about it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's every cat has a solution.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to group any. I don't want to group all cats together. Yeah. Well, dude, thanks for coming on. It's been a long time. I think last time I saw you was up in the Bay Area, but I want to go back to the beginning, to the Inland Empire, and in the beginning of the Erin Allen story. Where do you come from? I knew you through playing music. We met through playing in bands, and our bands would play together. Where there was a Crystal Cathedral, Crystal Palace. What was this place? Pixel Palace. Yes. Okay. So I think that's probably where we first met, but take me back to that time, even before then. How did this all happen?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Sochos would it. So yeah, I was in an indie rock band for quite some time in San Bernardino, called Soma Disorder, and people liked us all right, because we were doing the right thing, but it wasn't really like, going anywhere for me, and then like, I was in college and I met some new friends, and one of them was Adam C, and we were from child pornography. Can I say that?
I don't know. I have no idea. How do you say it? What do you want? Wow. How do you deal with that name?
I don't know if it's okay, I'll just say Child P or whatever.
Okay, that's fine.
I'll just say Child P.
Okay, that's probably better. Yeah.
I mean, I was always like, recording in my room, with like this like MD data disc 4-track recorder made by Yamaha. That was my first 4-track, and I was just always writing songs in my room, and I played one for my friend, and he was like, "Oh my god, that's got to be for Child P," But like it was like kind of this thing that like he started with his other friend Adam as well, and who actually now lives down the street from me. It's really funny.
It's a small world.
Yeah. I mean, it just kind of started from there. He heard one song that I did, and it was like a very punk song, and like Adam and I were in like maybe 2 bands together at that moment. Like I was always at his apartment, like with our friend Helen, and just doing whatever we could to like record as much as possible, and to figure out how to like put music on the computer, and then put music on the internet.
Put this music in the computer. We want this music to go inside of this computer. Go to internet now. Go online.
And now we make CDs. Yeah. We were like CDs and tape. Yeah. And then like, how to put it on the internet. And it was like before MySpace had like a audio player or whatever it was for bands. I can't remember what it was. I remember getting so much hate mail on whatever website that was. I think it got bought by somebody anyways. Yeah, I mean, I guess like in between all of that, like or amongst all of that, I was also part of like the Riverside Underground Poetry Organization, otherwise known as RUPO. I mean, I believe David Diggs was part of that.
Okay.
Maybe like after I left, to the Bay.
Was he with Clipping and then Hamilton and this world of stuff? Right.
Yeah, believe he was part of that. But maybe before or after me, or maybe there was some overlap. I don't know. That was so long ago.
Right.
And I would do like kind of like performative poetry readings and not very slam poetry, but like, I was surrounded by that, but like I was like kind of performing it like I would like soon to perform lyrics in Child P. And that's kind of basically why I kind of stopped reading poetry out loud, is because I was kind of satisfying that need with like the bands and the music that I was in, and putting up the random art posters I was putting up, with watered down glue.
But the band sort of being the catch-all for like the visual, for musical and writing in poetry.
Yeah, like this is like the multimedia vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if only my bands could just be a video game, it would be like, all
everything,
like
your whole
the
world.
envelope of art.
Yeah. Are there any bands who are video games? Has anybody become a video game band?
There's the closest thing that, is possible. I mean, bands perform all the time on Fortnite.
Oh, right. Yep. My
Roblox
oldest
probably.
Mm-hmm. So that's I guess that's the crossover. But there's never been a specific band video game like about a band, has there? Or I guess there's been like Garage Band Beatles edition or Garage Band's Aerosmith edition, something like that. That's not very creative.
David Bowie had a video game.
Really?
But it was more it was kind of more like one of those CD-ROM point and click adventures, like you would get from like LucasArts from way back in the day.
I remember the Residents had something like that. Residents had some kind of like
CD-ROM. They've done everything.
They would be that kind of band. They were the one of the early progenitors of the multimedia sort of.
I wonder if Negative Land has even gotten into that as well. I should ask. There's somebody I've been jamming with that had been doing the video stuff with them for forever.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I remember seeing them. No, not Negative. I saw Babyland, a different band.
Oh yeah. Oh, I can move my face around.
Oh yeah. We can be AI avatars. I can make this whole thing look like we're like pandas or something. Not now as we record, but later when it comes out.
Yeah.
Computers. Maybe that'd be better.
Yeah, I'm not so sure with that.
No, okay. I haven't figured out like some people have requested to become AI characters, and some people have specifically requested to not become AI characters as I promote these episodes. So I think there's a conversation going on. I don't really have an opinion one way or the other in terms of like this particular thing. I think if I was ripping off someone blatantly, if there was a direct thing, you know what I mean, or I was going to try to like put Prince in this video or something, or put like some, like if we had, if I had a David Bowie face on, I would feel bad about that. But if I was just using a generic like baby face or something,
baby head,
I had a baby head on, I'd be fine with that.
The baby head is big now.
Big baby head. Yeah, you got to watch out for big baby head. They're taking over the internet. So doing music in the Inland Empire, and you grew up out there in Riverside, near that way?
Yeah, I grew up in San Bernardino for the most part. But there was like, kind of like and it was like pretty tumultuous, I would say, at least. Mm-hmm. and my father finally kind of like wisened up about like this like relationship that he was having and how damaging it was to me. And I moved in with my aunt in East LA, and so I went to school there.
Okay.
El Sereno High or whatever it was. Yeah. And was there for like, it was the Northridge quake, I think. or whatever it was.
1994.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that quick, because that was also the year that Kurt Cobain died. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. When Kurt Cobain died, oh, I was like literally like one of two white boys, like white people at all, at
At
that
your school?
school.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was a total loner, except for like hanging out with like the soccer kids and like this one like dude that like listened to Ozzy specifically and not Black Sabbath, which was weird to me. But like I would hang out, and I feel like people came up to me that day. He's like, "Hey man, are you okay?" And I was like, "Huh?"
It was the day for outreach. Oh man.
Yeah, it was. There was some
the token white
there was
kid.
some
You're not gonna kill yourself, are you? Not today.
Don't do that. We wouldn't have anybody to chase after school.
We need you. Oh my god.
Yeah, and
That's
then like
wild.
I was up in Fremont for like a year, and then with my other my Mormon aunt, and then back to San Bernardino, which was kind of weird, but I connected with like some junior high friends, so I like it was, yeah.
That's cool.
So I kind of grew up around that, and my dad married somebody that pretty much was very supportive, yeah. It was like, yeah, my life changed because of moving back. When I moved back to San Bernardino, my life like changed for the better.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
And then the music sort of started happening there at that point.
Yeah. I was like really obsessed with bass for like the longest time. Way before that, I was obsessed with drums, watching the Def Leppard stuff. I was really like Def Leppard for some reason, like the one-armed era, like, and I would just like hit this like phone book, like, for those of you that aren't aware, we used to get tombs of books,
yellow paper
delivered,
whether you wanted them or not.
So I used that as a drum pad, and I would like mimic people on MTV. And then one day, and I was always hanging out at this older lady's house that was babysitting me. And one day my drumsticks disappeared.
Oh.
So bass. Yeah. I was obsessed with bass since like the Lithium video by Nirvana.
Okay.
Just like such a haunting like melody, and just like hearing all of the stuff underneath, and I still had like such a mild understanding of music, but like I had listened to so much music before I was able to actually touch an instrument. I listened to so much like heavy metal, and yeah, it was a lot of heavy metal at first, Sepultura, and then like all the other stuff that's like related to that. Yeah.
Wild.
So yeah.
And then when you got instruments and then just started learning, I would imagine.
Yeah. So I guess like starting to record just like meant that I just started playing other instruments. I would, and so I just, but for the longest time I considered myself just a bassist, even though I was playing other instruments like keyboards, drums, and guitar, and yeah. But yeah.
And tell me a little bit about the Inland Empire sort of scene that you were coming from. There were other bands in the Pixel Palace. It was a house. Whose house was it? I don't know how this works. I'm trying to put my memory together. I don't remember. I just remember driving out and then showing up to a show and like, okay, this is where we're playing.
Yeah, of course. So Pixel Palace was like one of like 4 houses that me and like kind of the standing members of CP at the moment were like lived in, because like we were like end goaling trying to find a home that we could like throw shows at.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we didn't know what that meant, but you know, like we wanted to have shows and do music, our music. We were like living in an attic with my friend James, uh, where like some Beatles cover band would play. Forgive me for saying that, but like they were really into the Beatles and they
Sure.
were a good like local rock and roll band. But like whenever we tried to jam, we would like jam it from a boombox, literally. Like to be the so we weren't so offensive, you know. We would literally jam out of a boombox because we would be like, I don't feel like driving all the way to the storage unit in San Bernardino right now. And
Were you
yeah, so
practicing in a storage unit, or that's just where your equipment was?
we would practice in a storage unit called Storage USA in like extremely downtown uh San Bernardino, like kind of on the cusp of Redlands and all that kind of stuff. Ukaipa.
And there was electricity in the unit?
Yeah, there was electricity in the unit. You just had to give like the on-site manager an extra $20 in cash so that you had 24-hour access. It was like on the low. And
Wow.
yeah, I hope it's still going. Probably is, you know.
So it was kind
I
of a
was like,
makeshift practice space. I mean, there's no sound baffling, so but you were probably the only people in there making noise. So
there was a lot of bands like there.
Whoa.
Yeah, there were a lot of bands, and that's how I met Brizza. I mean,
Okay.
not really how I met Brizza, but I think Brizza got me into the storage unit. Brizza was in a band called Camel Toe,
Okay.
and that band, my first band, Soma Disorder, played with them, and then Child Pornography would play with them as well, or Government Death Insurance. I don't know, one of those bands. The scene was pretty like, I don't know. It was. I would say that at that point there were a lot of like fashionable bands, or I would say, but I would say that like when Child P was starting and I was still doing Government Death Insurance and like kind of like tapering off of like the indie rock vibe, there was a huge scene in Ukaipa of all places where like there was just like all this stuff that was like heavily influenced by like scratch acid and like more contemporary things like Big Heart Procession Parade. I can't remember what, you
Black
know.
Heart Procession.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Black Heart Procession. There was like a dude that played the saw and everything in this
Okay.
one band, and you know, it was still kind of the tail end. Like it was like kind of like this like very. I think there was a band called Please Kill Me. I think that's what they were called. They were just like a super good, just like nihilistic, just um whatever goes punk band. They were like, to me, like one of the most punk bands that I'd had ever witnessed at the time, and like kind of thinking back, it was like it was still kind of like really good and informative for like probably a lot of people in that scene, or just being like just like informing or just like allowing people to think about, oh, I could make the music that I'm listening to. I could like do stuff like um I don't know, Arab on Radar, or you know, whatever. I mean, it was kind of, yeah. So I feel like a lot of that scene was like, you know, we were like giving ourselves permission to like explore the older stuff that wasn't really like, you know, surfacing in like underground or alternative music. There was definitely a lot of us that were like influenced by rap, you know, and that wasn't really like a thing except for new metal. Um, yeah, I mean, yeah.
It's interesting. I mean, I think, and I guess, at some, we should touch on the name or kind of, the sort of thought behind it, but I guess to paint a picture or sort of put some context around it, that there was very much a movement in punk in the early aughts of the sort of post, I don't really want to say Gigi Allen, but post just kind of the like, say the thing that you're not supposed to say, like be inappropriate or not be inappropriate, but like, that kind of like the nihilism and just sort of in your face thing as art. You know what I mean? It was sort of a radical form of a performance art to sort of be as explicit in name only, if not, you know, in action. You know, I don't know. Maybe, I mean, do you have a context for it now? It's sort of, at the time growing up around it being 19 to 25, it sort of felt like anything goes. The world is literally like a video game being rendered in front of our eyes. And as you encounter new information, like, okay, that's normal. That's weird. That's normal.
Yeah. I would say everything that we were doing felt natural. It felt normal. Yeah, I mean, it was a quite abusive name. And I would say from the get-go, it was like hindsight 2020. I feel like it kept us in check, you know, in a sense, like,
how so? What do you mean by that?
Like, I feel like it kept us humble. Like I felt like we were like, we had our faults, obviously, but I feel like we were just like nice people, trying to be artistic, and yeah. So I just felt like having that was like a little bit of a weight. We were never going to go. It was like we knew it wasn't ever going to go any further than what us and our friends allowed it to be. You know, I felt like it was like very like after a certain point, like maybe after a year of like kind of being taught about like the underground stuff, like, you know, exchanging back and forth between LA and the IE and then going up to the north a little bit. Yeah, it was just kind of like, well, to go back. The whole provocateur kind of vibe is like, yeah, we were definitely influenced by G.G. Allen's, very specifically. I would say that Adam C was coming from that point of view, and would perform in that way. And I would also I felt like I took cues from Iggy, you know, with how limber he was, and I would do like stunts with that, and I still kind of do, but you know, obviously the body gets more brittle as you get older. But yeah, I was also coming from a background of like, you know, studying and learning about art performance, and you know, like the whole like bad boy era of LA, you know, Mike Kelly and Paul McCarthy and like, yeah, all that stuff. And my mind was pretty occupied with that. And
it's no, I think it's important to kind of bring that side of it up too, because there was a precedent to one degree or another of art with a capital A having this type of you know, naming the unnamed kind of thing, or saying all the wrong things, doing all the wrong things in a way of like social, you know, like challenging social norms, or even just playing on that sort of darker side of culture. And I think the underground, you know, in some ways reflected that as well. And I think there was a youth and a nihilism and a, you know, almost in a way where like the New York response to 9/11 was to look cool, have cool haircuts, and do coke in the bathroom, where the Inland Empire, the LA form of it was a little bit more nihilistic and like throw yourself on the floor in your underwear and roll around and you know, and cut your chest open kind of thing, you know,
and or be addicted to the other drug.
Instead of doing coke and
meth and heroin and
there was another kind of side of the LA underground or the Southern California underground that was a little bit more like darker, but no less arty, if not more arty, or with something in that kind of
definitely you know, tinged with, you know, addiction. And you know, I've talked with quite a few people that were from that scene, and it's just like, how did we survive? There was a lot of stuff that like we went through in the Inland Empire that like was just like pretty crucial. And you know, it's just like, and going back to the name Child P, you know, it's just like, it just so happens that like the first main, you know, trio of that band, like me, Nicole, and Adam, we were all like sexually assaulted as children. And it's just kind of like fascinating to me that like we came together, the three of us, not knowing this really, until like much later, well after the fact. And I don't know, coincidences are coincidences, but there's like some sort of like glue there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I would imagine. Yeah.
Spiritually, you know, just like it felt like we were probably just, you know, I don't know. That's
recognize the thing that's not being said. That there's somehow
right.
Like the unspoken thing, but can be spoken amongst survivors of abuse or in some way. And I imagine there was some type of, if not therapy, but at least expression or some type of reclamation or some type of, you know, larger addressing of the thing. Because so much of the pain, I would imagine, of surviving abuse is also then the silence around it is also re-abuse. And so to be able to talk about or speak about it in a way that allowed you to move through it or past it or put it in a place and not have it be the unspoken air around you.
Yeah. So yeah, that speaks home to me, especially because I was very quiet about it, you know, for decades. You know, some people knew, you know, people that were the closest to me, but you know, just for the longest time, it was just kind of like, you know, a bit being extra if you'd like talked about that, you know, and like I didn't start seeing a therapist till like a little bit before COVID, you know.
Yeah.
So like, yeah. There was something else that I wanted to say about that, what you had just said, and silence. I mean, the stuff, a lot of like my pain and confusion and just existence was starting to come out a lot more in like the later era of Child P and and mostly in the stuff that like Brizza and I had collaborated on since, you know, I moved away from the Inland Empire. And it's gotten a lot more narrative, like not explicitly, but yeah, there's definitely like lines from my life that are like direct indicators of like being through the shit that I, you know, that I grew up with. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's good to at least acknowledge it in the story, or at least around the background of the name of the band, because you know, I think like you said, you know, around, you know, even it just being a limiter of what could be said. You know, I know of instances like, for example, my wife went on tour with you know, her band went on tour with your band, and there was times where she was like, the show they couldn't put their name on the flyer. You know what I mean? This is
we recalled.
You know.
Okay, hot take. All right, hot take. Here's a hot take coming in. Yeah. So there was a lot of times where we were called wild photography, and I think that supplementing that for a band called child pornography is a bit worse.
That someone else did that? That wasn't your name. Someone else renamed you that? Gave that?
Somebody else renamed us that, and that it happened like on three separate occasions. Yeah, it happened on three separate occasions. Independent, like it was like that happened in LA once, and because we just didn't want to, because it was for a, you know, a community center, and we're just like, yeah, do whatever you feel like is legit, you know. The people will know.
Yeah. Well,
but then there was a show in Denver that we played, which was also quite an infamous evening in our on our tour. You know, with Shannon.
The van was demolished. The rental van was But I think what's interesting too, though, I mean, the sense, you know, you say, you know, keeping you humble, but obviously, I mean, there could be no clearer example of the self-sabotaging, you know, sort of world of your point of view or strategy of an underground band as naming your band something that could never be searched online as much as, and work, you know, it's the kind of the name
we're
that was
findable.
like, I would never look.
I love it that people are like, I would never look you guys up. And I'm just like, all you have to do is type in our name.
Right. Which is challenging.
And put a band and put band after that. And, you know, for the longest time, it was probably a lot of stuff about like, you know, members of Led Zeppelin and The Who. And
okay, sure.
would come up about their, you know, dealings with younger women.
Oh, right. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean,
but it popped up, you know, we popped up, you know.
But I guess my thought being.
Well, I did miss out on a chunk of what you said, the preamble.
Oh no, I guess I just mean that like coming from the underground, you know, I think where we share roots in the sense of, you know, bands start up every week, or it's a different name, and we're going to call ourselves, you know, Boone's Farm from Nalgene. We're going to be Staring Problem. We're going to be this band. We're going to be that band. And there's a lot of like, in some ways, trying out identities, trying out, you know what I mean, or being known for one thing, but then also like, oh, we have the dark side of the band over here, and it's so much of a community and a scene of that those underground bands, but it's interesting because there's like this dichotomy of a need to be accepted or to be part of a community, and also the need to like push people away and to challenge that community as you grow, as you seek the approval. You also seek to offend or to challenge, if nothing else, the audience in those kind of ways. And I just feel like that was so much of just, it was an understood, not so much unspoken rule, but it was like, that's what we're here for. We're here for the challenging music. You know what I mean? If we wanted MTV music or K-Rock music, you could find that everywhere, but we're going to a warehouse. We're going to a show out in the Inland Empire. We're going to these like weird places to find weird music and to find other weird people who make weird music. This is what we're doing. So for a band to be named, you know, Child P, and for the music to be challenging, and for all these things to happen, you're like, this is what we signed up for. This is what we're looking for, something weird and noisy and loud or challenging or uncomfortable, and to make you think about stuff and challenge your own sort of thought of creation. And I don't know, that was sort of part of the community. It was what it was.
I just felt like, Child P instantly fell in love with LA, you know, because we were accepted quite quickly. You know, we had our bad shows there before the Neon Hates You festival.
Okay.
But like, the smell was pretty key to like, you know, learning about the world, you know, in which we live in, and like how to do things.
Tell me a little bit
how to do things with humanity. You know?
Tell me a little bit about that. Like, how did you find the smell, or how did that first come on your radar, and what was that?
Well,
like?
The show, I mean, it was like probably the first show that I went to there was probably Dinosaurs with Horns and Godzik Pink was playing, you know.
Classic.
And I was like, wow. And then I think I was at a random show in one of those that warehouse that people were living in, like around the same, like off of Main area, where like Get Hustle played upstairs.
Yeah. I think Anthony lived there, and then might be Marcus for a while.
Yeah, definitely. Their band, Hair K. Yeah, I saw them a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and then in terms of coming from, you know, Inland Empire and house shows and storage spaces, and then seeing this kind of LA thing, like, what was your take on it, or what was that? What was the difference, and what was attractive about it, if it was?
It just felt like we belonged in a certain way. Like there was a place for us, and it felt like it was still alien to us for so long. You know what I mean? Like never like hung out in LA except for like when there was stuff like bikes. There was something about, you know, we were very proactive with bikes and stuff like that, and Critical Mass was a thing. I don't know if we ever went to Critical Mass. Oh yeah, we always did like stuff like that. Food Not Bombs, and the cops would show up and shut us down. And it just felt like we were doing this and getting shunned for it in the IE, but you know, but we were more accepted in Los Angeles, and like we felt like, oh, okay, so we're just gonna play more shows in LA because we're accepted more. And then something kind of happened with us and like the Inland Empire scene where it felt like people were like, you guys are, you know, you guys aren't like local anymore, and you guys are doing the whole LA thing and the hipster thing, and we were like, I was just like, I don't know, man, like we're bringing these bands out here for you to watch, and we're still playing in that basement in the coffee shop.
You've
So I don't know, it was
changed.
just yeah, it was kind of like you've changed, and in my mind I was like, well, you're gonna change too, you know. You just haven't changed yet. That's okay.
It's so funny. Yeah. But
That's
again,
not
yeah.
how I said it, probably.
But yeah, trading house shows for warehouse shows, or for,
Yeah, yeah,
or for house shows in a different city. It's not like, yeah, the sellout move of the century.
right.
It's, yeah, I don't know. I think there's so much about that time too, where it really was, I think downtown and the smell where it was at in downtown it was just kind of this weird, lawless sort of place. It didn't, and not that, not to romanticize it or anything. I mean, it was dangerous, and there were, there was some oversight, and not that there was nobody there were people there, but I feel like, there was very much I think, I guess I look back on it in ways now where I try to have a clearer vision of it, or a clearer like understanding in 2020, or hindsight's being 2020 sort of view, where it was like we were sort of the gentrifying white kids in a part of town we weren't supposed to be in. You know what I mean? Which is a story that has been repeated ad nauseum and will continue, or has been before us and after us. But there was a part of it, like we definitely had the white privilege of like, let's go to weird parts of the city, let's go to weird parts of the state where it seemed like nobody that looks like us is there, and let's be weird artists and to do weird art.
And then the gentrifiers became gentrified.
I get, yeah. I mean,
especially in the Bay Area.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's a whole other.
I mean, the whole like the beginning part of that cycle usually gets eschewed. Anything that's like an arts district is just like, I don't know, lawyers' offices and whatever, and maybe there's a fancy restaurant.
five stories of condos on top of it. Yeah, no, but again, it's not to say that, you know what I mean? I don't play the victim at all. If anything, I mean, I feel like there was we were part of a victimization of a community that was there before us, whether it was the unhoused or whether it was, low income, or whether, there was all kinds of things to it. It's like, I see, obviously the young, dumb, poor art kids, were part of a system that they didn't even know they were part of. It's like, what I mean? It's like, oh, it's a place to do a show. It's a place to do, like, come play shows over here. And you're like, wait, am I participating in fucking someone else's scene up just by, by being here? And it's at the age of, 19 to 25 again, it's like, I got nothing.
Yeah, that's just something you're not going to be aware of.
Yeah.
I mean, even like when I was in grad school, which is like, kind of like a huge privilege these days, which is very weird. I was like, encountering that word privilege, and I was like, when you are, confronted with that, you think about your own personal experience. And like, obviously I fought against that for like the longest time, which, and I wasn't like a complete idiot about it, but I was just like, I'm confused about it, like, so much. And it was just like, I'm really confused. And like, yeah. But, to go back to that, just to like, kind of like, go back to like the beginning era of that location of the smell. One of my first shows was going there right after 9/11 happened. And the entire city was shut down, and like there were cops everywhere, and you had to like, and we were going to go see Pink and Brown and the Lowdown, and it was just,
Wow.
and there was one other band that had some pretty famous people now.
Pink and Brown being John Dwyer of the OCs.
One of his first bands. And
Jeff
that was
Rosenberg
like
Lavender Diamonds. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jeff.
Yeah.
He's in a band called what again?
Oh, he was in Lavender Diamonds. I don't know. That's probably his. Oh, Young People. Lavender Diamond was the Becky Stark thing. That.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, but right after 9/11, going to see shows at downtown.
I mean, and we were like at the tail end of like some weird American political shit, you know. Just like, you know, I feel like it was like very indicative of the 80s, and we're kind of in that era right now again. Like, but kids these days are smarter. They're definitely smarter. They're encountering information about like what is actually happening more readily. And I'm in a band right now with 20-year-olds, and I'm definitely the old head, and they definitely give me hope.
Oh no, I think generationally it's so different.
Yeah.
And I think I you know, I'm guilty as anybody of lionizing my sort of childhood or my youth, and like, well, this is how things were done in my day. Not that it was necessarily better, but it's just, you know, it's what you grew up with and what you knew. But I think, you know, as soon as you start telling the stories, like, well, rent was $500 and I was going to the school where I had a, you know, federally funded loan to go to this, you know, higher education, like, oh, right, the subtext and the context of my experience of my 20s is so vastly different than what people in their 20s, you know, just the playing board is not the same.
It's definitely not the same.
And so it's hard to even just relate to, you know, I'm understanding those, how our parents' generation walked uphill in the snow both ways, kind of, you know, that sort of thing. Of like, it doesn't make any sense. You know, it's like the same way of me saying, you know, I shared a 1-bedroom apartment with 4 people and the total was $500 and we all just had cars and drank beer all the time. Like, how did you afford any of this stuff? And like, went to shows and movies and rode our bikes all over town. And it's a different world. Now that makes sense.
The Pixel Palace rent was, I mean, we each paid like close to just not even that much over $100 in rent, you know, and that's how we were able to afford.
Candy bars were a nickel. That was the story.
Candy bars was not a nickel. They were like 59 cents.
Okay. Oh, right. Okay, yeah.
I think they were pushing $1 then.
We'll say gas was $1. How was that? Gas was just about $1.
Gas was $1, and I was still able to drive that Chevy Caprice. Yeah, classic.
What year was your Chevy Caprice? Wait, I forget about this. Did we ever talk about this?
86.
Oh, okay. I had a 79 Chevy Caprice,
a
Caprice Classic. That was an undercover cop car that my brother got.
Mine was also an Investigator model. It was super light, had like the V8 350, whatever.
Yeah, big gas guzzler, loud engine, huge trunk. I could fit a whole 412 cabinet in the trunk.
I mean, Chow P went on tour in that, you know? It was just like, it just had to squeeze like a one bass cab in the back seat, and everything else was in the trunk.
And then bench seats across the whole way, right? Yeah. It's insane. I loved that car. It was $500 from a police auction, but the gas gauge never worked, so I ran out of gas all the time. I just kept a skateboard in a gas can, and the thing. I mean, I lived a block away from high school, but I insisted on driving it to school, just that one block, and I'd run out of gas constantly. Just going one block and one out of gas.
It was really funny because I was a social worker, and I would just like roll up with that car with like the pink flame on the hood that was just like a shoddy spray paint job. And I don't know.
It's incredible. I mean, one thing I always know, you know, or I always felt about you and had the experience of, you were such a great community organizer, and I think and so supportive of the community and of other bands and putting shows together. It was always a thing. And I think it even as like time went on and you moved to the Bay Area, it was always great because I think you would put shows together. We'd play shows that you were, you know, putting together in Oakland. And I mean, again, but it just says so much because it's really thankless work and it's really hard work
It
to do all those things.
definitely is, and I would say that some people will end up hating you for it, no matter what.
No good
Like
deed goes
when
unpunished.
when
Yeah.
you are helping doing a lot of help, people will judge you.
Because
I
you
don't
don't
know
help,
why.
because you can't help everybody, or because you didn't help their band as much as you helped someone else's band.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just yeah. I don't know. I've
Yeah.
I've encountered a lot of people that have directly been like, they were directly influenced or like benefited from my labor and whatever. I didn't really see it as that. It's just like what I did, and they were like would be the same people that would just like come at like Huff and House for like not having like enough black people there, like we were like some sort of like institution, and that's kind of
Mm.
going into something a little difficult, but yeah, it's just we had friends that were our friends that would attack us because of like the people that we lived in, the people that we chose were people that were ready to move in somewhere at the moment, and
Yeah.
it's just
Well,
like,
it's
yeah,
hard again. Yeah. I mean, I think just being a public figure like that, or putting yourself out, promoting shows, and putting your name, attaching your name to public events. You know what I mean? It invites that public discourse, and for better or worse. You know what I mean? It could be the thing too. Like, oh,
yeah.
this is,
I mean, I
you're
would
the
say I
coolest
learned
guy
a
in the
lot from
world. You
it.
do everything. But yeah.
Yeah, I would say that like getting that criticism, though it felt negative at the moment, was there was always like, some stepping back and reflection that happened, and then moving forward, yeah. So
It's interesting, but I mean, I feel like like I said, we shared a lot of experiences, and enjoyed the generosity of places like this around the country and around the world, whether they're squats or just kind of like warehouse places, and these sort of things that sort of with the lifeblood and sort of the skeleton of that sort of underground sort of world. And I think that's changed a lot too. And I know, to me, I just will never get over Ghost Ship, and just the
yeah,
place that held in that community, and just the tragedy. I could cry, and I was
yeah,
experienced it here only on tour. I didn't live there, but just that, just the insanity of that, I think just scarred so many people, and scarred the community and the world as a whole. And just
I would say, yeah, there was not anyone in that scene that didn't know at least 5 people that died in that fire,
it's,
and then like, yeah, the city came after everybody. Yeah, everything changed post 2016. That was like, for me personally, that's the year my father died, and that's when Trump got elected. It was kind of the year that I was kind of like really kind of trying to change focus with my art, like not trying, really. I was just like kind of disgusted with like trying to show in a gallery, and that kind of like, um, and then yeah, the fire happened, and I mean, me and my friend were supposed to be there that night. We were planning on going, but I was covering somebody's shift at the pizza shop that all of Oakland worked at in San Francisco. Yeah, so it was pretty brutal, and the city, it took a while to come after us, but they did, and you know that changed the dynamics of the household forever. And
because you were throwing shows at your house, and there was
well,
seen
we
as.
had we had stopped doing the shows years ago, years prior to the fire happening. We were just like, all right, somebody else's turn now. The landlord heard about like heard about like the high castle's like base cabinet, got walked out the door and down those steep ass steps by just some random person, and like, and the landlord was like, yeah, can you guys not do shows? And we're like, sure, we won't, because like, people would be like tagging on our TVs and like taking our makeup and yeah,
It's a hard life to
I
live
don't
for.
know, it's just like
It,
sometimes.
yeah. living in a house where shows happen is not for everybody, or it's not necessarily a long-term commitment. It can be something that exists for a while.
Yeah, I mean, like I lived there for almost 15 years, so it was hard for me to imagine an ending for it, and it's crazy to think that it even lasted as long as it had. You know, there's like a long lineage of people before I lived there that had lived there.
What was the name of the house? I don't even know. I don't think we ever played there.
Huffin House.
Okay, I don't think we played. Yeah.
And I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm surprised y'all didn't, but you know, y'all were already too famous.
Move the year and move it to any other year. You know what I mean? There might have been
the Letterman show. Wait, did you guys play the Letterman show?
We did, yeah.
Oh, okay, okay.
It was, but move it 2 years before that or 2 years after that, we would have been just the right size.
I know, true.
You can't play every house at every time at every year of every year.
Yeah, of course.
But again, so what do you when you mean they came after you just because you had shows there in the past, or they just were breaking up these kind of group living house situations? Or what was
just
that?
Like because it was very apparent that we lived there. We ran galleries downstairs. You know, it was there was no bones about it. You know, we're trying to not be we would try not to be so loud about the existence of us. We took every precaution that we conveniently could, you know, because you can't, because you still have to promote in some sense. And we respected our neighbors. We talked with our neighbors, you know. We got better at that, you know, as the years went on. But like, yeah, so yeah, they came after us, and I was the one that they encountered, and the inspector was there. I feel like the inspector came once, and we turned them away because there was no appointment. And then they came again with a cop, and you know, and they were like, okay, so the guy just came through and just started pointing at everything, saying like loss of life. They pointed at our dryer and said, this is just going to lead to a loss of life. And it was just like, well, we could do something about that. Why don't you give us that information? You know, because
let's improve this instead of shutting us down. Let's help us improve this if this is to be something. You know what I mean? Find a workable solution.
Yeah, our spot was like pretty legit too. There was like fire sprinklers everywhere. I mean, like there were things like the steep stairs. You know, it was built in like the 20s.
But again, you're not the property owner. You were renters of someone else's property. So then to sink money into whatever But and again, just how traumatizing that is to even for a community who lost so many people to then have again the doubling down of the abuse of someone coming through and saying you're going to kill all your friends. You're like, you don't know how fucking insane that is to tell somebody who just lost, you know, or to tell a community who just lost so many people. And obviously nobody wants to be responsible for that. Nobody wants to be the cause of anything ever like that. So it's
I would say there was a lot of dropping out, you know, that happened because of that. And, a lot of cruelty surfaced because of it. But there was a lot of like overwhelming support. Like we had everybody over, you know, when the fire happened. It was so sad to hear about stuff like Rhinoceropolis getting like, did they get shut down? I think they did.
I don't know the exact details, but
I mean, there were just like, there was all these venues that like I had played, and like I had such like a you know, strong feelings for it because like I had so many memories, you know, and they were just gone. The next time, like a lot of stuff was gone, just like, you know, I feel like I had when by the time this 2016 came around, like I hadn't toured in like 4 years. And I feel like there was like some touring that was happening post then that like I felt like we encountered where like I was in charge of booking the show, and then it's just like there's nothing there for us, you know. in this city.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, there's a challenge of just playing all ages spaces and DIY spaces in general, just in a general, you know, I mean, there's those, they face rent hikes, gentrification, you know, just cops and everything. But I remember even there was the Great White Fire, which was like the, you know, the earlier aughts. And that was in Rhode Island, I believe. The band Great White, the hair metal band, had pyrotechnics on stage, and that was tragic. But that set off a chain reaction across the country, where, you know, the smell was closed for a few months, while, you know, under similar circumstances, and shows were moved, you know, all over town and scattered. And then,
but that wasn't that like a beautiful moment at the same time?
It was
just kind of like, because like there was all these spaces that opened up because of that, you know. And
because the smell was closed and other places had to sort of pick up the smell.
And then like we learned about each other,
like, you know, space, and
we learned about each other more, you know, and we learned more about our community because of that, I think. But yeah, on the other hand, it was a bit rough for us to.
But it's always, I think it's horrific to know that that's part of that story, but it is.
I mean, it forever changed the dynamic of living in the Bay. It forever changed the dynamic of Huff and House. It forever changed the dynamic of like how people felt at shows. It felt, you know, there was just so much that changed after that. And like, you know, to be so close to it was just like so heavy for so long. It still is, you know. And like in my last year, like living there in like 2022, well, the last 2 years I was living there, I lived in more of the Fruitvale area in another former venue. I don't know if they're still doing shows, but like there's this monument, this art monument that is there, that gets moved around a lot because it's viewed as trash by some people, I think. But it's just like this metal dangling piece that's like a tree, and then there's all these ornaments that reflect like all the victims of the fire, and, you know, the things that like went on as a result. And I don't know where I was going with this, but like I now go there a lot. Every single time that I go to Oakland, I go to that shitty sculpture. It is kind of like bad art, but like it's just so beautiful and sad too, you know. And it's across the street from like a Wendy's. And it's just like that whole area of Fruitvale is just also just like kind of wrecked, and just, but also just like a really good community as well, you know.
Yeah. No, I just think anybody who's ever been to a show that was too loud with too many people, you know, and felt the sort of the freeing, healing power of underground music and just community and expression and explosions and that freedom of, you know, life and affirming, you know, sort of communities this underground music scene has represented and has personally touched my life in that kind of way. Anybody who's had that experience in their life in the last, you know, I want to say 20 years within my lifetime, but, you know, I'm sure this has been going on for, you know, we're part of a decades, you know, old sort of place of that. But if you've ever felt that, you know what I mean? That's all of us, you know what I mean? Anytime there was any loss of life, but something as horrible as Ghost Ship, it was all of us, every one of us. I just felt like that feeling of like I don't know. It just felt like that kind of way of, if you've ever been to a show in a place like that, then, you know, that could be you. And I just feel like, and then since that, like, you know, the shows and the tours and the things we've done, it's just, I look at the places and I see the kids' faces, and I'm haunted in so many ways. And in that, not that I want to shut down or not go to things or not do things, but you just changed, you know. I think that's part of growing older too, and just in a scene of things, and just recognizing like how fragile and beautiful and just how hard it is to do what we do and to make art, and not to get, again, not to play the victim or not to say woe is us or woe is me. And this is obviously a self-appointed, you know, expressionistic creative career that we've all chosen in these ways. And there's no guarantees for any of this stuff, but to just experience that all, I don't know. I guess that's just where it brings me back to that feeling of like, I'll never, I don't know. I don't think I'll ever be the same or go to shows in the same kind of way where, it's like I'm watching and looking at things and you just go, wow.
Definitely.
Okay, here we are.
I have,
we should have these things.
I resort to like when there's a show happening and it's just kind of a little, and get that feeling of not feeling safe physically, because of the space and because of there just being like maybe one exit.
Sure.
I'm definitely the person that like engages in the conversation wizardry that happens outside for the rest of the show. And I'll just take pictures of people, then just
enjoy the space without being in the space sometimes, or just those long hallways or alleyways where no one can go which way or that way, and it's I know. Dang. It's hard. Yeah.
What is what have you done what have you done lately musically? Like, I don't know. I'm just kind of interested in you. Like, and how are you like doing like, it's just like, how are you doing with like all of this, raising a family, having expression at your, like, I don't know. I'm kind of interested in that. What your point of view is as far as like everything that's happening. And
it's been hard. I mean, I've done this podcast now for, I'm just finishing my second year of it. So I do 2 episodes a week, and I feel like I kind of took to this format. I first kind of came into the talking, long form talking interview podcast thing prior to the pandemic. But really once we got into the pandemic, I realized like, oh, okay, this was another way for me to like, sometimes
I had no idea.
Well, I just, I would listen as a fan, and then I started it for, 2 years ago. And I've found that, that I guess I in some ways, even when Twitter happened, when that was first happening as a thing, I was like, 140 characters or whatever it is, like, that's not communication. These are like bumper stickers in some ways. Like everybody's going to throw bumper stickers at each other. And I really felt like that was my first sort of feeling of like, whatever the great promise of social media or the social media community isn't real. Like if you're going to put a character, you know what I mean? Like you can't speak to like millions of people, or you can't have this large format sort of thing. Anyway, so, the band was doing whatever the band was doing. We, Dean and I took a break from 2013 to 2018 where we still played shows and we had tours. We probably did 2 of those years on both sides of touring. And then we switched labels to Drag City and we did stuff, but I just kind of felt a little bit like it I guess in the way of like, I was getting disillusioned with social media, and I felt like the podcasting was like, if you want to like have a conversation, there's a great place to have lots of like nuance and gray area and long form kind of thing. So I've been enjoying this last 2 years of being able to talk about the world, or just have like a sort of, bi-weekly conversation with friends and sort of just because again, I don't think I have like I don't have slogans, in a kind of way that like necessarily even fits a band format. Bands are great for slogans, and it's a record title, it's a record name. It's like these little sound bites of things, and every once in a while I don't know. I think I had the confidence.
Like in a sense, like there's some form of relating to it, to the way that the internet communicates, because like, because of that, because of what we do. I mean, my art also like is very sloganistic as well, and I wonder if that's because of the internet or because of my ADHD or like, I don't know. I mean, sorry for the interruption, but yeah.
No. It's interesting. No, I think it is. I think obviously, our world has changed and transformed in our lifetime in ways that are unique to our generation, and we're first generation online in a lot of ways that is, not always smooth. I'm not smooth to transition to platforms or clunky or the, you know what I mean? I think I can.
Yeah. I'm still trying to figure out this whole artificial intelligence thing. That's not artificial intelligence. Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, exactly. No, I struggle with that.
I've seen some people use it as a tool. Like my friend Jesselyn Lalonde made a zine.
Yeah.
That was based on some prompts that she was given as an artist, or not get told not. She made a zine that I can't remember if it was like just so long as it's not George Bush coming out of the toilet playing with a clown or something. And She was doing the cover art for a band. I don't know. Maybe it was Business Lady. I don't know. But she made a zine using artificial intelligence, using that as a prompt to make art. And I felt like that's like a good use. I mean, because I study a lot of the pictures generation of photography, and like the people that are like more inclined to appropriate like with painting, like appropriation, like as in like, you collage and all that kind of stuff, and sampling and
reuse. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's.
I think
no. I mean, it's another tool. I mean, I've been having fun on the social media side of promoting the podcast of putting my face as something else while I say weird things about AI and then make myself an AI as I critique what AI is and the troubles with it as an AI avatar through my social media and the guise of promoting this podcast. That doesn't bother me. I feel like there's a certain kind of snarky sort of sassy, like, well, look how funny this is. Aren't I clever? But I don't know, if it's necessarily correct or if I'm, I don't want to steal anyone's artwork. God forbid. I've yet to see anything that I've been involved with. AI has not looked like art to me. So I don't feel
I want to use it.
Like, I have not made art with it, I guess.
So the record that Dean put out of Baby, the record that I did with my friend Max, we did we did some collaborative poetry in that. And I felt like in that sense, it was kind of like generative in a way. And I feel like the way that I envision using artificial intelligence is feeding it something that I already do, and then it reflecting something back at me like a mirror. And kind of like using that, I don't know. Yeah. Like I had like just imagined what would ChatGPT say to like two crazy motherfuckers, like, reciting some weird ass otherworldly poetry. What would it pump out as poetry based on that as the reference point of poetry? And I find that intersection to be like rather fascinating, because I don't know, because
could be, yeah, exactly. No, I mean, again, I think it's another tool like anything else. You know what I mean? I'm not mad at the screwdriver. I'm mad at the person who uses the screwdriver to do something stupid. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. But again, I don't know. I've just been doing this. I put out 2 solo records of ambient works. I have a band that we've been practicing and playing stuff. I redid the garage here during the beginning of the pandemic into a studio for Dean and I to finish our last record on. And we moved out of downtown. We had a studio there for about 10 years. And so I've been doing a lot of stuff, but I mean, I'm 90% dad most of the day. I take the kids to and from school and make lunches and play Minecraft and do homework. And really, I'm enjoying that part of my life, which I feel is so private, that I'm not necessarily, I've felt the limitations of what social media or the larger sort of like, most of my camera roll is me and the kids, or just the kids doing fun stuff that I share with my wife and mom, immediate family, but it's not really for like public consumption. I'm not going to use my kids' faces to promote,
most of my photography is of my mom.
Yeah.
I'm not going to put that on like online.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. I think I've just changed it, but I guess that my feeling was always like, if anyone was curious what I'm up to, listen to the podcast, check in, within 10, 20 minutes of me rabbling on with people. But I also feel like the guests, the curated side of the guest sort of thing, I think is an interesting sort of, my hope is like, within a number of years, I would have like a body of interviews that reflects my sort of life, you know what I mean? And sort of the people that I wanted to talk to in ways that might live past even what the life of the podcast is. Like, oh, well, hey, there, you know what I mean? Whatever happens in any of these people I talk to's careers or lives, you could look back and see, oh, well, they did they spoke for an hour. Now this is like some kind of archival record, you know what I mean? Of like giving people a space or a platform to sort of talk about their work and their their life. And it's like, cool. Where else would you see like an hour conversation with XYZ artists or these musicians or these people? And it's like, cool. Wow. This guy it's kind of like a public access show. Like, oh, cool. There was a weird public access show in the 80s that had all these great band performances on it.
Yeah.
Like this might serve as like the weird corner of the podcast world where all of these interviews are.
No, yeah, I definitely enjoy. I'm a fan of podcasts, and I've often have thought of doing like the weirder side of stuff like that. Like, John Kilduff has been doing for like decades now.
Oh, I don't know him.
The guy that used to be a cable access show. You call in the guy that like runs on a treadmill and makes smoothies while in a suit and making oil paintings, and then a lot of people would call in and just like say bad stuff, and we were like, okay, well, so anyways, but he's moved into this whole new territory of work. Yeah, I kind of want to do something in that, something that makes sense for me in how I already express things. And I've kind of been starting doing like some things with painting. And video, and that's been fun, but it's really in its infancy. But I do like I would like the opportunity to interview people as well, and because I know so many people, so many creative people that I feel like should be interviewed.
Mm-hmm. Totally. That's how I feel too. And I'm also I'm enjoying like meeting other people too, and kind of just being new to a space and sort of just finding out like where people are at. And I don't think I have as much of a firm hand on the curation of it all the time. I also feel like, cause it's just kind of this like living sort of being that's sort of moving throughout the world. And I can appreciate that. And I don't know. We'll see. I think my wife is happy that I have this, so I don't talk to her as much. Good. Yeah, she'll like, sometimes, in the beginning, she's like, yeah. Let's save it for the podcast. I'm good. I don't need to hear the rest of that story. Sounds like a great podcast topic. Go ahead and save it for that. Oh, okay. Thanks, babe. We only get so much time between her and I to talk that I think the less talking I do at her, the happier she is. It frees up room for more conversations for us to have. I can take the responsibility. I'm guilty for talking ad nauseum about things. So I feel like,
I mean, I feel like most men are, but like have the best intentions. The best of intentions. Like, yeah, I've definitely had to like, like hang back, like notice that I should hang back on my words here, just like overloading or being repetitive. That's like kind of like, a symptom of a lot of, things that I'm dealing with, like, mentally or whatever. And like, I'm a total Wellbutrin head. And so like that, like, helps me be helps me be less impulsive with my speech.
Well, I think that's the topic of that's the name of the podcast.
What?
Yeah. The Wellbutrin heads.
Is it?
Or no, impulsive speech. I don't know. No, impulsive speech. I don't know what it is. Yeah. But well, yeah, I usually have these around an hour. We've gone well over an hour. I've taken up so much of your time.
Oh, we have?
Oh, no. It. Yeah. This is great though. I love it.
I love talking.
Appreciate it. Yeah. Well, yeah. Same here. Me too. This
has been great. You can talk with me anytime you want, Randy. And then maybe someday I will have you on my podcast.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I'm excited. If every guest I talk to started their own podcast and had me back on, it would be great. There we go.
Dude. You're going to get your 15 minutes back.
No, I've already had, I don't need any more 15 minutes.
No
more 15 minutes. I've had enough. I was lucky I survived the first 15.
I know. Me too. So,
yeah.
I mean, I didn't really have 15, but like,
I appreciate it. Yeah. Well, thank you.
Yeah. I'm excited for this.
Catching up.
I'm going to watch your show.
Hey.
You have a subscriber.
Very good. Okay. Yeah, I think it's I try mostly to do audio. I think there is a YouTube that's just static. I don't think I have the video up. I should do more. But but in wrapping up, in the spirit of wrapping up, where can people find out more about you, or if you would like people to follow you, where do you encourage people to go anywhere to do that?
My Instagram is probably the most, central spot. They can find me
handle?
online. Eral Peral, ERALPERAL. Yeah. Yeah, and that's where I post. I'm like kind of starting a new thing for just my art. And then I think I'm gonna for my paintings, and then I'm gonna do one for just my photography. Just because I'm very loud about about current events.
Good.
And the oppression that is happening, and, our fascist nation right now. I'm pretty loud about that. And I feel like I've seen other friends make this decision, and it's helped them,
There's a personal voice in a professional.
Yeah, just like, yeah. So I just like, you can look at me too, but you might get angry. You can look at my silly. You can look at my silly oil paintings and posters.
You could enjoy that side of it, or enjoy this other side, or both sides. Yeah. This is an interesting time.
You can always look at my millions of bands on Bandcamp.
There you go. All right, Erin. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Heck yeah! I hope you have a good rest of your day.
There he is, Erin Allen. Dude, thank you so much for coming on and chatting it up and talking about creativity and art and going down the rabbit hole of time and space and transporting ourselves all the way back to those early aughts over 20 years ago. I guess not quite 25 years ago, maybe somewhere between 20 years ago and 25 years ago. I appreciate it. And thanks everybody for listening and coming on this journey with us, documenting creativity in time in the early aughts in Southern California. This is going to be my narrator voice. I'm gonna go, picture this, downtown Los Angeles, 2003. A group of people congregate in an alley that smells like shit. It'll be the smell bio doc. Well, thank you everybody. And find us hyphenate@gmail.com. Turn on the automatic downloads. Tell your friends. Tell your dentist. We should play this show in the dentist's office, right? That'd be good background. Sort of chit chat. All right. See you Monday.
You remember when televisions were on the floor